It's the visit with the person of high strangeness. Well, we are here at the end of 2008. It was a turbulent year. It was a crazy year. It was a hard year. And just as distorted as this footage is, it was dimensional. For a while they didn't look like we was going to get here in one piece, but we did. And so we're going to kind of review the year 2008 for just a little bit here. And I am so glad that we are at the end of it and I'm able to share this with you. Well, we want to change and we got it. Some of us had prayed for change. And when we were somewhat changing of energies, we really didn't know how this was going to play out. And then lo and behold, there it was, and it became real visible. The heaviness that was upon us as a people, almost globally, it just lifted. Our police department is notorious for doing the right thing, and sometimes that it's not in the interest of the main population, but even the police department opened the street and we had dances in the street when Barack Obama got elected as our new president. In June I had written a newsletter where I talked about the fact that we have to look at the people of the planet Earth rather than the reds and the blues and these groupings that we have been doing under this oppression that we had been under for 8 years. And I had hoped so much that people would have understood what I was trying to say. Sometimes it is hard to step out of the box and look at something like that. The night of the election on November the 4th, people was dancing in the street and celebrated worthwhile, and my phone started ringing. Australia, Germany, France, they held the telephone receivers up to their telephones so I could hear what was going on in other parts of the world. And all of a sudden, when we talk about shift of energy and getting clarity, there it was globally. And of course we don't kid ourselves that this is going to last forever, but for the moment it just feels so good, and I am so delighted to be able to share that with you. Now, I'm not sure, and not everybody is happy about the way things are, but I guarantee you, I grew up under occupation, and I guarantee you 2009 may be a hard year, again, due to circumstances, but we will be able to talk to you and tell you hello and tell you what we think. And what it did, it freed our souls and our spirits from going to the next phase. We had some sadness. I want to acknowledge the people that left us in 2008. There was Stud Turkle. I talked about him last year. He was the broadcaster that worked with the Civil Rights Movement. Unfortunately, he did not see the change in our country, but he might have had a really good idea. Then there was Isaac Hayes, Bernie Mac, and Mama Africa, the great Miriam Makeba. Now, however, Miriam did see Mr. Obama get elected, so I was very happy about that. She was one of my heroes all of my life. Tim Russert left us this year, and so did Paul Newman. It appears these were all people that behind the scenes did a lot for mankind, and kind of almost like they wanted to say, okay, it's done, and pass the torch on to the next person. Barbara O'Neill, New Year's Day of 2008, she left us. Mr. Blackwell, I wonder what he would say about some of our clothes now, from Bibian, Levi Stubbs, Harry Carey, Estelle Getty from the Golden Girls, and I'm sure there were very many more that I can't think of at the moment, but we are grateful that they have shared time and space with us. If you remember, in 2007, there was no Human of the Year award. And one of the reasons was we didn't think we could give an award to someone twice. In the meantime, we have rethought our position and given the Human of the Year award to one person twice. Who may that be, you ask, so I'll tell you. One morning, shortly before the election, Dennis Kucinich walked into Congress and told him about a woman in his district that had been forcibly removed from her home because she had defaulted on her mortgage, and that was unacceptable. Congress was doing something else at that moment, and they was not very happy about Dennis jumping up and down, but being who he is, he made his point. I should also mention to you, the woman was either 90 or 92 years old. Not only that, she had shot herself in the chest with a shotgun because she didn't know what else to do. So, I would certainly think that that qualifies Dennis Kucinich for the Human of the Year award for the second time. And I'm sure that you agree. Now, what we're going to do now is I'm going to show you the summary and the insert for the year 2008. And then I'll see you after a while. This is Lake County Park. Mike Johns took us there. It came off the show Trailer Trash, where we showed you that what some trailer parks look like. This Lake Corner. They have just about anything you can think of. This is a small town parade in Lake Stevens. For the friends that don't live here, we take what we have along with the rain and the weather and make the very best out of it as we can. So here's the elaborate parade, and if that doesn't work, there's a moon for you. Fun in small towns. A car show also in Lake Stevens. This car had been all the way to Australia and back. The guys didn't care if it rained or not. And of course everybody got so wet. And this is art if you want to customize anything that you have. This very gifted young man shared with us how he turns your car into a beautiful piece of art. And he didn't mind getting wet either. Washingtonians, we rust, we don't tan. Here's an old timer. And hey, there's trailer trash. That's what it really looks like. Miss E.T., our diva cat, we lost her in July. These are some inserts of some shows from the year 2000, when she was a regular centerpiece at the studio on a weekly basis. And we enjoyed her tremendously. This is of her memorial show. Ebony, we were reminiscing. And there she is towards the end of her life. 30 miles from Mount St. Helens. We took you up there to a party. We stayed for 3 weeks and filmed. We were lucky. There's a space station. Just flying around. It took 3 days total. We prepared everything for the next day for our roast. Ghostly flames. I should have repeated to the vegetarians to please change the channel, but I forgot. Here's our dinner after 11 hours. My walker, I have not been able to walk very good. And our eagle in flight, he graced us with his presence on several occasions. You're 30 miles from Mount St. Helens, and Miss E.T. was buried there eventually. No party without an outhouse. It looks delicious. Here, I'm looking for chickens. They said they were chickens. Oh, I found them. Here they are. Lenny Epps at the Tulalip Casino. He graced us with a visit in honor of the memorial shows for Miss E.T. the Cat. That was in, of E.T. and Lenny Epps show. Here he sings as Louis Armstrong or Satchmo. He's such a beautiful person. You can still see him perform in the Squally at the Red Wing. Just call and he'll tell you when he'll be there. Here's Lenny Epps with, when he was part of Society's Child, the band that we seem to favor in our programs, and Art, Miss V, Ray Lewis, and Miss Jackson from Society's Child, where we took you dancing to get you away from the computer and MySpace and take you along and have some fun. Annette Jackson. This is in Rochester at the Lucky Eagle Casino. Here's one of our friends that brings party favors. I believe his name is Ron. He's always the life of the party, and stop and talk to him if you can catch him. Ronnie from Society's Child passed away last year, so we did a show in honor of him. They now sell t-shirts. Carrie Houston laughing. Carrie Houston crying. This is the show where she shared what it was like to be the first female assault helicopter pilot in the United States military and the toll it took on her. It was very emotional, and we had a lot of comments on that show. And there she is on a show called Carrie Houston. She's laughing. She's talking about her upcoming journey. Had she known what really happened to her, she wouldn't have sat there and laughed like that. She'll come back next year and tell you what really happened. Here I am sharing an article I wrote. I hear Hoofs who goes there, what it is like to suffer from multiple personality disorder and what we need from the people around us. This is part of the Ethnic Festival that takes place in February each year in Olympia. Nasty day that was at the Performing Arts Center. We made little frogs. It was an ugly day. Bonsai trees. We learned a lot about bonsais. And more bonsais. A slideshow from Native Americans that were present. They were gracious and shared that with us. Lumpy rain and snow, but we toughed it out. He's a 37-year-old bird that wanted to go to the Ethnic Festival, and he was just talking away. It's for our belly dancers. And we just toughed it out. It was snowing. Mike Strand and his contraption on his leg, he broke his leg 5 years ago, and a negligent doctor didn't fix it right. As a result, he has to straighten out the bone in his leg. Here he is 5 years later,
in a lot of pain, and we raked on the medical system. He was our cameraman, one of our cameramen before this happened to him. So there he is, Mike Strand. Has a long ways to go. China super psychics, Oliver and Slavka, came from out of country, and it was an encore presentation. They brought me in their studio. When we brought him to the studio, to TCTV to film this, and thanks to them, I'm still able to film at home. There he is with his lovely wife. You're more familiar with China now than you were then. This was a trip I took in 2000. I went to Colorado and interviewed a gentleman about government abduction, and I was so little. Kanashibu-san graced us with a visit in the studio. We did predictions, and we talked about ourselves and what it's like to be a psychic. This young lady came and had a reading with her baby. He must be 5-6 years old. If you see this, please call us and tell us how you came out. We back at the place south of Mount St. Helens. Here's the eagle that you saw in flight earlier. He is now sitting still. We got 20 minutes of good footage of him just sitting there. This came up so that the people involved in it called the rednecks tearing down the barn. We got a lot of responses from that. And we had fun with that show. It finally did come down. Mount Rainier. This is taken from Highway 12 going towards Packwood. My favorite shot, dog and tree. That was my favorite shot for the year. Sherry Ames, here it was to script or not to script, where we shared the footage from when I went to California. I'll get back to this. This is Oliver and Slavka talking about our alien relatives. They came to the studio, and the arch in Utah collapsed this year, so it was kind of eerie how the airing and that event overlapped, because it was just a little eerie actually. And this is Leah Leyland. I appeared on her show out of Tucson, Arizona. It was filmed at TCTV and then networked. We had quite a few calls on that. And Dr. Robert Gibbons in Kimberling, Missouri, he did the spook lights, a familiar face. Stanton Friedman, he's on Larry King, Discovery Channel, History Channel, very famous UFO investigator. Paula Bonine, no, I'm sorry, Paula Boyd. Paula Bonine was a friend of ours that passed away several years ago. She must have been on our mind. This is Kimberling City. Having breakfast before we gave talks. Bob White, sitting on the bar, Monica Ryan Smith, Kana Shiba-san, and Barbara McGuire. We all getting ready for the day of great talks and information. That's when we took her to the conference. And here's a superstitious man running in his luck had changed in some kind of way. He thought we was responsible for his good luck, but we wasn't going to discourage him. From that line of thinking, Bob White, Dr. Robert Gibbons, burglar alarm at the Museum of the Unexplained, a prop from the X-Files, and a dress from the original Star Trek series. Bernie set me in a strange contraption here, which eventually turned out it was a broken light, a ceiling light, and we liked that a lot. John Greenwald, the young man with the black vault, he released over 200,000 black documents that he got under the Freedom of Information Act. And here we are in Ocean Shores. Colin Andrews being interviewed by Brenda Roberts. These were crop circle shows that were in co-presentation. Eyeless, given her thoughts, experience, and findings about the crop circles of, I believe, 97. I believe it's 97. This show is still making its rounds, especially in Eastern Washington with the farmers that every winter try to find out what really happens here. How it blows the stalks, and then not only that, it bundles them like tight little baskets. And that's probably one of the old-time favorites there. And Eyeless. We don't know where she lives right now, but she was a local. There you can see the bundling. Eyeless lived in Grand Mounds, a scientist. And that was an old crop circle from the 90s. The DNA strand. Busty Taylor, the pilot and photographer that flies over the crop circles in England. This was a historical find that I made, some kind of malfunction, and whatever makes the crop circle skipped and burned the ground. I took soil and stock, and within 3 weeks I was bald. Look at my beautiful hair. That only lasted another 3 weeks, and it was gone. In Cahokia, 15 miles south of St. Louis, and that was a historical find. The UFO behind me, the picture belongs to Dr. Gilbert Jordan. Bob White's object, as discussed on Springfield, Missouri News and also CNN. We were in Laughlin, Nevada, and it jammed all the locks and safes at Harrah's in Laughlin. And it just so happened all the news people were there and filmed it, and we were just sitting there for them to fix the safe. That was Dr. Gilbert Jordan. This is Bob White. Dr. Jordan just sitting there. What a day that was. There he made the evening news. And there you go. The safe is open. We did that 3 times. And they said, don't ever bring this thing back here. And that's when it was on display at Harrah's. Dr. Gilbert Jordan, one of my good friends and mentors, Nobel Prize nominee in physics. Daryl Sims, alien hunter, he came to Ocean Shore and visited with us. Yeah. That show was taped in the RV. Our astrologer, Mahala, she publishes Planet Alert. And there she explained what happens after eclipses. And as we speak, there is an eclipse taking place. And so she shows war zones and things, how eclipses um, in events like that interfere with world events. This is my book, and the moral of the story is free for download off the website. Sherry Ames and myself, we talked about that in Herschel Walker's book, Breaking Free, where he discussed his bout with multiple personality disorder. And now this is where I went to Hollywood to film commercials and trailers, just in case they make a miniseries out of my book. I was broke. Ebony found me a penny. It had fallen out of the sky for her, so I'm rich. This is an old map of Africa. We were lucky and rescued it from the earthquake. I showed that to our viewers that were born on the motherland. This is a map from the 1920s and 30s, before all the countries were renamed and liberated and overtaken and all these things. Bernie Salazar in the studio, through my eyes and in my shoes. We talking about what it is like for an immigrant to come to America and understand your strange ways. We miss Bernie. We did this via video, Hot Lake, where we took you a few years ago ghost hunting. They sent that to share with you, Hot Lake in the olden days. It is now open. It's a store, a resort, and it's up and running again. It got restored. Only one ghost remains, the piano player. These are the new owners. It's the lady. This is her husband. He is also a famous painter. There he is. Beautiful bronze statues in the place. We found an old tape of Bernie at work. He's still in California. If you all call him and demand he comes back, maybe we can do that. We really, really miss him. Dual purpose, this was my show, Moya Soleil with Moya Kashimbe, and then we taped and inserts for Bernie's show, his Latino music show that he had at that time. But what an artist. I love some of the clips and the creativity this man has. We concentrate hard enough, maybe we can wish him back. Margaret Brennan and I, encore presentation, we took her to Olympia, to the little stores that we had filmed before the earthquake, and most of those are no longer there, like the Outfitters, for instance. And there was an encore presentation, and then the next week we took it downtown right after the earthquake, so you can kind of compare. Here we are. This was footage that was taken by TCTV immediately after the earthquake. And a man named Sage. It's the famous picture out of the Daily Olympian when after the earthquake, and that picture is still on MySpace. MySpace Sigeria, that's me. This aired the week of the earthquake, the anniversary. Do you realize it's been 7 years already? The last building got finished this year. That's how long it took to repair downtown. Bernie set us in here very skillfully. We also took it to Mount Rainier, and we also managed to get footage again before it was destroyed. It had a lot of damage in 2006, and this was footage we shared with Channel 4 because we had all this footage before a lot of the places got hurt. This is the beginning of the Nisqually River, and so they was going to put it together as a before and after. Now this is cloudy at the Zugspitze. That's the highest mountain in Europe, and you can actually look into 3 countries: Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. Global warming, this was in 2003. This is what remains of a glacier. And so glaciers were melting then. And it's amazing it took so long for people to really realize that. We talked about that for a very long time. This is the Zugspitze. The highest mountain in Europe. I'm glad she went to take that for you. I couldn't go that high. Oh, and look here, she took us to a museum where it shows the European crocodiles from millions of years ago.
We have come in this lifetime to find something. We have come to find the eternal light, the light within. The light within has always been there, but now
Mommy
is the
from
time for
Egypt.
us to understand it and to see it in ourselves and in each other. We are here to walk a path of light and beauty. The light will shine the way. Open your hearts and let the light shine. Trust in your knowing. You are surrounded in love. Trust in the light. Have faith in yourself. We are creating a new world of beauty and balance. Keep your thoughts on the beauty way. Know this is the future we are creating for all. We can make a difference. We truly can.
This mummy is on display in Germany at a museum. Claudia brought that for us. This is Bamberg from the show Autumn in Germany. Isn't that beautiful? They're called Fachwerkhäuser. Beautiful colors. She took us to castles, and she got married at a castle on the 2nd of August. She's going to come and visit in 2009. She has almost recovered from her CK, Claudia. She has almost recovered from her head-on collision and is ready to film again and take us around Europe. This is Tina from the Roadrunner shows. We are reflecting backwards in everything that has taken place. We took her to California in March of 2006. We did not air these shows until 2008. We had many problems with those shows. We had breakfast on Earthquake Falls. we went to a lot of those places for you. This is certain, the tree line is the earthquake faults. We took you in some instances across those mountains and sometimes around those mountains. Last year, Ebony and I went in a different season, and we shared that with you. Here, we thought we was driving into water, but it was the reflection from the floods on both sides of the highway. Stripper Hall of Fame, we couldn't film it. The gentleman had died while we were en route. The lady was ill. It got moved to Las Vegas. So if you go to Las Vegas, please take a look at the Strippers Hall of Fame. Beautiful outfits from the early 19th and 20th century. Victorville, Old Town Victorville on Route 66. An antique mall at the Paiutes. These two gentlemen at that time had biked 16,000 miles for soldiers that got killed. It is my understanding they are still out there. They was biking 10 miles for each soldier that had lost his life. And then here we are, Rendsburg. This is the living ghost town off of 395. For those of you that go that way, it's a little south of Bishop. Many of the viewers went there and they called me from there. So we're very happy that we shared that with you. Last year we even spent the night there and showed you, Ebony and I. But this is Tina and I the year before. Rendsburg, the living ghost town. The Frenches, they were ghost hunters. We are still in touch. The gentleman that chased UFOs. Reno on the way home. Yep, everybody was asleep, so we got through town really good. Excavators, we had followed our guidance and changed course, or else we would have gotten hung up in these mudslides. So they were under repair on the way back, so we took you to a rock slide into occupations. Ebony and I, last year, we showed you the horrendous earthquake fault, the rip in the earth there. Miss E.T. was still our centerpiece in those days. She was still with us and she loved the camera. This is after the fires on Warm Springs Reservation in Oregon. Sunrise on our way home. It was a long year. Mount Hood. And here we're reminiscing. This is Mary Hill Museum on Highway 14, Washington. We have been back there since. This picture is part of a Native American display they have there. And we were so grateful to be able to share things with you for another year. And it's actually kind of, in picture, kind of mellower than usual. But we so enjoyed having shared this insert with you. And we'll do it again at the end of next year, I think.
Walker is a Pulitzer Prize winner in literature, and amongst the things that she wrote was The Color Purple, that was later turned into a movie. I was requested to read this open letter to Barack Obama that had made the round at one time, and it took me a little while to find it, but I did. So for those of you that requested this, I'm going to read this to you. It goes as follows. November the 5th, 2008. Dear Brother Obama, you have no idea, really, of how profound this moment is for us. Us being the black people of the southern United States. You think you know because you are thoughtful and you have studied our history. But seeing you deliver the torch so many others before you carried, year after year, decade after decade, century after century, only to be struck down before igniting the flame of justice and of law, is almost more than the heart can bear. And yet this observation is not intended to burden you, for you are of a different time, and indeed, because of all the relay runners before you, North America is a different place. It is really only to say, well done. We knew through all the generations that you were with us, in us, the best of the spirit of Africa and of the Americas. Knowing this, that you would actually appear someday was part of our strength. Seeing you take your rightful place based solely on your wisdom, stamina, and character, it is the balm for the weary warriors of hope previously only sung about. I would advise you to remember that you did not create the disasters of the world that the world is experiencing, and you alone are not responsible for bringing the world back into balance. A primary responsibility that you have, however, is to cultivate happiness in your own life, to make a schedule that permits sufficient time of rest and play with your gorgeous wife and lovely daughters, and so on. One gathers that your family is large. We are used to seeing men in the White House soon becoming juiceless and as white hairs as the building. We notice their wives and children look constrained and stressed. They soon have smiles so lacking in joy that they remind us of scissors. This is no way to lead, nor does your family deserve this fate. One way of thinking about all of this, it is so bad it is so bad now, there is no excuse to relax. From your happy, relaxed state, you can model real success, which is all that so many people in the world really want. They might buy endless cars and houses and furs and gobble up all the attention and space that they can manage or barely manage, but this is because it is not yet clear to them that success is truly an inside job, that it is within the reach of almost everyone. I would further advise you not to take on other people's enemies. Most damage that others do to us is out of fear, humiliation, and pain. Those feelings occur in all of us, not just in those of us who profess a certain religious or racial devotion. We must learn actually not to have enemies, but only confused adversaries who are ourselves in disguise. It is understood by all that you are the Commander-in-Chief of the United States and us want to protect our beloved country. This we understand completely. However, as my mother used to say, quoting a Bible with which I often fought, hate the sin, but love the sinner. There must be no more crushing of whole communities, no more torture, no more dehumanizing as a means of ruling a people's spirit. This has already happened to people of color, poor people, women and children. We see where this leads. where it has led. A good model of how to work with the enemy internally is represented by the Dalai Lama in his endless caretaking of his soul as he confronts the Chinese governments that invaded Tibet, because finally it is the soul that must be preserved if one is to maintain a credible leader. All else may be lost, but when the soul dies, the connections to earth, to people, to animals, to rivers, to mountain ranges, purple and majestic, also dies. And your smile, with which we watch you in gracious battle with unjust characterization, distortions and lie, is that expression of healthy self-worth, spirit and soul that, kept happy and free and relaxed, can find an answering smile in all of us, lightening our way and brightening our world. We are those we have been waiting for. In peace and joy, Alice Walker. And that's for those of you that missed the letter, and it kind of circled the globe, and it really reflects us as a people of the earth. You know, we've been so used to divisions, and not just within races, amongst economic status and casting in other countries. And so we really kind of hope that if nothing else, we have made a new beginning and really strive to be in the people of the planet Earth. And it's a good thing to see. And if you stop and think about the logistics behind the scene, the universal logistics in order for all of this to fall into place, and not one person did it by themselves. And again, I want to caution you, it's not going to be an instant answer. Unfortunately, nobody has a magic wand and say, here, all your problems are fixed. But it is a beginning, and it is so good. It feels so good. It just feels so good. And so thank you for requesting me to read this letter from Alice Walker. We had 3 sponsors in 2008. Fifi Bloom, an Australian clothing designer, that's opening her line up to America. Builders Realty, and National Chimney and Roofing Service. They came to my aid when things got really, really kind of shaky, because nobody has any money, in case we haven't noticed. I want to tell you here, just because the energy of the country and the people change doesn't mean all our problems is going to be over. It's going to take a long time to sort out everything, and if you next week we're going to show you the predictions again, so you can kind of get a general idea what next year is going to look like. And so just be patient. Things are changing, and I thank the sponsors so very much for coming to my aid, because I have been one-man army. And I'm not saying for you to feel bad about this. I'm elated that we were able to share another year with you here. The days of monkey do, as Monkey says, are over. So when you go out and celebrate for the new year, just hope for wonderful things and don't get discouraged. Life is good, so enjoy your transition over to 2009. We will stay with you another year, and we'll see you then with some more exciting adventures and comments, and again we can speak freely, and so that'll change things a lot. So give yourself a hand for having gotten through 8 rough years here, and I'll see you in 2009. Prosit. Ready to go to the casino to celebrate my birthday.
And I found this beautiful rainbow here. Can't find it on the other side. But, it's gone just that quick. I ran back in the house so I could film it. These are my beautiful birthday flowers. Aren't they beautiful? Some are gorgeous. Never seen anything like it. They are just beautiful. Yeah. Some kind of berries. Wow. Beautiful.
Miss Lillian, we'd like to thank you for all the fun you took us here. Take us there, and it's just because you really care where our journey goes. All it begins is part of our planning will extend. And if we do our part, we'll fulfill our mission. We've had from the take us here, and you take us there.